Welcome back to the MC Grammar Show with me, Mr. M, aka MC Grammar, a primary school teacher broadcasting from the bottom of my garden direct to you. Leon's in the house too, behind the camera with all the sound and visual. He's a primary school teacher too, so you're in safe hands. You know it goes down in our lessons. We learn through the coolest tool, music. Speaking of music, this session is all about verbs, and this is the Verb Song. Check it out.
Verbs are action, being, doing words. 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 Have you heard of a word called a verb? In a sentence it's needed to work? Yeah. Let's focus and work for a second, cause verbs are being, doing words. Yeah. Lights, camera, action. In a sentence find the action word. Yeah. If you can, then you can discover the 3 different forms of verb. Modal. Can, can't, could, may, might, would, mustn't. Auxiliary. Is, am, was, were, has, had, does, did. Main. Sing, spin, think, drink, dance, shake, and freeze. Wait. Now you know about verbs, let's do it again. Have you heard of a word called a verb? In a sentence it's needed to work? Yeah. Let's focus and work for a second, cause verbs are being, doing words. Yeah. Lights, camera, action. In a sentence find the action word. Yeah. If you can, then you can discover the 3 different forms of verbs. Yeah.
Were you rapping along to that one? How cool is that track? I love it. It's got a nice bounce to it too. So before we get stuck into the music, remember you need 3 things today. Your pen, pencil, paper, or a tablet. You need your thinking cap on, like here, to get you focused and to concentrate. And 3, you need to have a positive mindset. That means you're cool with making mistakes and you know it's part of the learning process. You just can't do it yet. You don't know the answer yet, but you will if you listen and learn. Speaking of learning, this is the verb lesson, so let's take it to the board. So we've played the song, you've rapped along, now it's time to break down those lyrics. Let's kick it off with the first one. It says, have you heard of a word called a verb? In a sentence it's needed to work. So every sentence or complete thought needs a verb for it to work. Then after that it says, because verbs are being, doing words. So a verb is a being or doing word. Then after that goes, lights, camera, action. In a sentence find the action word. So from the 3 lyrics we know that a sentence needs a verb. Okay, it's a being, doing word, and also it brings the action to a sentence. So any sentence we look at, we're going to try and focus on the word that brings the action, that is a being word or a doing word. For example, look at these pictures here. So MC Grammar here is rapping. Could be singing as well, speaking. The next one with the arms folded, he might be posing, thinking, pondering. Then we've got the stereo, listening, jamming, chilling. And the last one looks like he's leaning. Yeah, granted he's leaning on nothing, I don't know how that works, so it could be hovering, levitating. Cool, right, so now we understand what a verb is, let's check your understanding. Remember, think about action. Those words that tell you about the being or doing in the sentence. Let's have a go at this with your mic check. Our first mic check. Your time to shine, your time to have a go and see how well you understand what a verb is. So building on lesson 1 and 2 on adjectives, we're going to use this combination. This time you're going to add a verb. Now there are 3 challenges for you to have a go at based on what you feel comfortable with. So for the first one, it says lonely lizard, and then you're going to add a verb that adds information, the action about that lonely lizard. What's it doing? The second example, we just got the noun this time, a warrior. You're going to describe the warrior by adding an adjective and then our verb. What's the warrior doing? Finally, for the third challenge, if you're up for it, you can add 2 adjectives here, then the noun and a verb. So it can be about anything you want it to be about. Your favorite football player, yourself, a singer, a rapper, MC Grammar, this lesson, you name it. Just remember, on this occasion, we're trying to add those verbs to those combinations there. If you want to, you can add the adjectives and noun too if you want to stretch your brain and take it to the next level. I'm going to disappear for about 30 seconds to a minute and then we'll come back, have a look at some of my examples. Your time to shine, go for it. bet you guys smashed it. Let's take a look at my answers right now and you can compare at home. Remember, at any occasion you can pause this clip, give yourself a bit more space and time to attack the learning as well if you wish to, if you're watching this on a repeat. Right, okay, so the first example I had, the lonely lizard lingered. I really like the fact that we had the alliteration going on there, that same sound in a row. So I had the lonely lizard lingered. I wonder why it's lingering. And then after this, I've gone for the exhausted warrior. A lot of people might have put something like valiant or brave, courageous. I've gone with exhausted warrior. And what's he doing? This time he's surrendering, because he's so tired. Then after that, for my list of adjectives, I've gone for solid, tall, wall, crumbled. Wow, what's going on here? Is there some form of beast or dragon involved that the warrior's been fighting, and now the warrior's surrendering, the lizard is lingering, and the wall is crumbling? So that was my effort. How did you guys get on? Remember, it's all about just moving into the process now where you can add a verb to these combinations. That's what we're looking out for. So you might have not got any right on this occasion, but don't worry. It's all about practice. You can always watch the lesson again. Cool, right. It's time to go back to the board now for a little bit more learning. So as the song unfolds, it then moves into different types of verbs. So we have modal verbs, auxiliary verbs, and main verbs. So let's kick it off with the main verb. So it says sing, spin, think, drink, dance, shake, freeze, and wait. These are all those verbs you're used to using already in your sentence, the action ones that you can pick out. Then if we move into auxiliary verbs, these usually link on. Auxiliary verbs, and they've got is, am, was, were, has, had, does, and did. They usually link on to another verb. For example, Leon is running down the road. MC Grammar was rapping into the microphone. So they usually link on to the main verb. They can also be used with adjectives. We'll show you that in a moment. Our next verb is a modal verb, and in the song it says can, can't, could, may, might, would, mustn't. These refer to the probability, how likely something is to happen, and again they link on to other verbs often. So for example, I can sing a good song if you want me to. Or I might say you can't run in the house, which I'm always saying to my kids. Or I wish I could fly through the clouds, soaring past the eagles and airplanes. Random sentence that was, but you can see how that modal verb adds on to the other verb. It links to tell someone explain the probability or the likelihood of it happening. Let's get into a little bit more detail now here. So using that example, the modal verb, I've got Leon can dance. You can see here, I've taken my main verb, dance, and then I brought in my modal verb to express how likely that is to be, or the probability, and Leon can dance for sure. You should see Leon is a great dancer. Let's now use an auxiliary verb. We can also use these. Let's move on, Leon, we go to the next one. With the auxiliary verb, we can also use these with adjectives as well to describe someone. So for example, he, auxiliary verb, is, and then add an adjective, amazing. Usually we're used to adjectives being before a noun. So for example, amazing Leon. On this occasion, if I want to say he is amazing, I can add the adjective after that auxiliary verb. And remember, we can also link those auxiliary verbs to the main verbs. He is running. He is dancing in the club. He's a good dancer. That's the moral of this lesson, I guess. Right, it's your time to have a go now. This is the second mic check. Let's go. Okay, second mic check. This is an open task here. I've given you a noun, a dragon. Yeah, a cool noun. There's that dragon. We had him in last lesson, didn't we, Leon, I think? We did, yes. Now, this time, I want you to choose an auxiliary verb and an adjective to describe that dragon. The dragon is, the dragon was. And the next one, I want you to grab a modal verb and a main verb. A modal verb and a main verb. Okay? So this is your task. Task is as follows. We'll repeat that again. Task 1, grab an auxiliary verb and an adjective to describe the dragon. Task 2 is grab a modal verb and a main verb, one of those ones we're used to using all the time to tell us what the dragon is doing. But link that modal verb in there as well about the likelihood and probability. Now, I've given you some modal verbs down the bottom there, and I've also given you some auxiliary verbs. The main verbs is up to you. I want you guys to use your imagination and include your vocabulary. Right, I'm going to disappear. Your time to shine. We'll see you soon. How did you do? Did you enjoy that task? Now here are some examples that I have written. And remember, this is just my mindset. This is what I'm thinking about the writing, my vocabulary. You might have something totally different, and that's cool, as long as you recognize the auxiliary verb, the main verb, and those modal verbs. So I have got, the dragon was seething. Now that means really, really angry. Now why? Well, I've explained in my next one here, because the dragon can't escape. So I've linked this back to my story that was going on before. The knight, although he was exhausted, he got back up and managed to capture the dragon and stick him in the dungeon. And that's why the dragon is seething, really angry, and he can't escape. So I've used the modal verb, can't escape. How did you guys do? Did you enjoy it? I bet you did. I'd love to see what you've come up with, and don't forget you can send all your answers to the next slide here. Popping up now, you can see hello@mcgrammarshow.com. We love to feature your work on our Thursday shout out show, so send your work in to us, whether it's a picture of it, the actual writing, an email, please send it in and we will feature it on the show. Make sure you've got the permission of your parent or guardian first. Okay, we have come to the end of this episode 3, all about verbs. We've now got nouns, adjectives, and verbs in the bank. If you haven't watched those episodes, go back onto our channel, youtube.com/mcgrammartv, and check them out. Remember, you can pause them at any point if you need a bit of space for that learning. We've had a great time learning with you again, Grammar Gang. Thank you so much for tuning in. From Leon and myself, what do we say, Leon? We say stay home, stay safe.
Keep reading.
Keep reading, keep rapping. And we're going to finish the lesson the way we started, with a rap song, the coolest tool to learn. This is the Verb Song. See you next time. Bye.
Verbs are action, being, doing words. 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 Have you heard of a word called a verb in a sentence? It's needed to work. Yeah. Let's focus and work for a second, cause verbs are being, doing words. Yeah. Lights, camera, action in a sentence, find the action word. Yeah. If you can, then you can discover the 3 different forms of verb. Modal. Can, can't, could, may, might, would, mustn't. Auxiliary. Is, am, was, were, has, had, does, did. Main. Sing, spin, think, drink, dance, shake, and freeze. Wait. Now you know about verbs, let's do it again. Have you heard of a word called a verb in a sentence? It's needed to work. Yeah. Let's focus and work for a second, cause verbs are being, doing words. Yeah. Lights, camera, action in a sentence, find the action word. Yeah. If you can, then you can discover the 3 different forms of verbs. Yeah.